All right, we're talking about Red Wings, but if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we cover Detroit sports every single day. And right now, there is a lot to talk about. And unfortunately, tonight's conversation is not a fun one for fans of the Detroit Red Wings, myself included. This team looks like it is absolutely imploding at the worst possible time of the season. And I know we've been heading this direction, but what we're seeing right now is probably the collapse that ends their playoff hopes and ends their season. And I think we need to start with a game that everybody's been talking about, because if you watched it, you probably felt the same thing that I did, that it was a must-win hockey game. And I'm talking about the game that they just played against the Columbus Blue Jackets, which was a direct battle for playoff positioning. I remember turning it on, like right before I turned it on, I'm like, okay, NCAA basketball is over. The Wolverines won the championship. You know, it's a great night for Red Wings hockey. I'd love to see them win. And they were playing the Blue Jackets, who it's a must-win game. I mean, they're very, very I think they both had 89 points, right? Like, I think it was neck and neck, literally. Like, this is a must-win game for sure. A game that decides the season. A game that decides who gets into the playoffs and who doesn't. Who's going home early. And Detroit had that game in their hands, man. I mean, it started out with Columbus, and then Detroit came back. They had the lead late in the third period, and I'm like, okay. Like, you know, I took my eye off the game for a second. I'm like, okay, you know, this is cool. They're going to win. They're going to tie this up. They know it's serious. You know they got to win this game, who their opponent is. And they were literally seconds away from a regulation win that could have completely changed the momentum of their playoff push. And then the nightmare happened. I look up, and with the net empty and Columbus pressing, Detroit fails to clear the puck. And they allow a goal with 17 seconds left in regulation. I mean, literally, if 17 seconds would have went by, the game would be, this might be a completely different conversation. Well, I mean, it would be a completely different conversation, but there would still be an urgency. There would still be some concern. But that moment ties the game up and sends it to overtime. And that moment alone might be the snapshot of this entire season. Because this isn't just one bad bounce. This is, no. This is about a team that simply cannot close games when it matters most. And I'm going to tell you, I hate to see this. I'm a Red Wings fan. Just like I'm a fan of other Detroit sports. This sucks. I mean, I remember years ago watching Shanahan, Eiserman, McCarty. Like, I remember those days, the Avalanche rivalry, Hockey Town, multiple Stanley Cups. I mean, I loved it. We all loved it. So it's become a part of who we are. The team that's in Detroit now does not look like a team that plays with the sort of grit or toughness or they look like they like to win, but they don't love it and they just don't like to lose. Like, you got to hate to lose. And you could see the life drain out of that building the second that puck went into that net the other night in regulation. It was like the fans were more upset than the players were. If that's even possible. Like, the fans in the stands were more disgusted. Like, as the camera pan to them and then pans to the Red Wings bench and the players on the ice, it's like the fans are more devastated than the Red Wings on the ice. When a team gives up a goal like that in a game that's important, you almost know the ending already. I mean, I saw it, and sure enough, right? The game goes to a shootout, and Columbus finishes the job with the winner to take a 4-3 victory, and it's over. And now we're in a totally different world again. Because when you step back and you look at the bigger picture, this wasn't just a bad loss. This was another loss in a brutal stretch. Detroit has been spiraling. I mean, they have collected just 5 points out of a possible 18 in their last 9 games. It's been a stretch that has pushed them right to the edge of falling out of the playoffs entirely. And I'm going to tell you something. A month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, I wouldn't have said that we were sitting here. I mean, we covered numerous segments about them, about how good they looked, about the plans that the front office were making and the players they were picking. Like, it looked good. It looked promising. It was like, okay, finally, they're going to get it this year. They're going to go to playoffs. But at this point, that's the part that should concern fans the most. It isn't just one unlucky night. This is a team that suddenly looks like something has changed. They look defeated. If you watch the body language, you can see it. Confidence is no longer there. The urgency is no longer there. And the most troubling part about it is this is happening at the exact moment when the season is on the line. Like, it's not over. It's not over. It feels over, but it's not over. And yet team captain Dylan Larkin basically said it himself after the game, admitting the team had opportunities to close things out, but failed to execute in the final moments. And that's the story of this season right now. It's opportunities wasted. I don't even know how mad I can get at Steve Yzerman. Of course, he's going to get all the heat. There's a lot of people out there, the Yzerplan, blah, 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 blah. I get it. I'm not saying it's not, there's no merit to it. They put a lot into this. The draft, the trades. And I want to talk about the shootout itself for a second, because honestly, it perfectly summarized where this team is mentally. I mean, the Red Wings looked flat. The moves were predictable. There was no creativity, no spark. I mean, meanwhile, Columbus looked confident and decisive. It's not just skill. Like, Columbus looked more confident, like they wanted to win the game in the shootout. I think that was one of the things that was most jarring to me. That at the time of the shootout, the Columbus players looked more aggressive. They looked more hungry. And the Red Wings looked like a team that didn't believe they were going to win the game, if that even makes sense. When teams start losing confidence like this, the problems start showing up everywhere. Defensive breakdowns, missed clears, bad penalties, sloppy puck management. I mean, there was a ton of that. All the little things that separate playoff teams from teams watching at home in April. And another major issue that continues to haunt Detroit is goaltending. There's no excuse for what happened in the last 20 seconds of that game. I don't care. I don't want to hear it. Now, I understand that goaltending hasn't been terrible every night, but has it been good enough to carry a team into the playoffs? The answer is clearly no. I mean, clearly. Even Steve Yzerman acknowledged that the team gives up too many chances and that both goaltenders need to be better. Championship teams have elite goaltending. They have a guy who can steal a game when the team in front of them is struggling. And right now, the Wings don't have that. And if you want to win a Stanley Cup in today's NHL, that's non-negotiable. I mean, look around the league. The teams that make deep playoff runs always have someone in net who can shut the door. Detroit doesn't have that. And that leads me to the bigger conversation I think we need to have tonight. I think it's the most important conversation, honestly, is that are they actually a Stanley Cup contender? Because if we're being honest with ourselves, I think we all know that the answer is no. Even if the Red Wings manage to sneak their way into the playoffs, and right now that's a big if. I don't think it's going to happen at this point, honestly. I can't even believe I'm saying that. But this team is not built to go on a deep run. At best, they might win a round, right? If they get in, they might win a round if everything breaks perfectly. But a cup run? A Stanley Cup run? Not with this roster. Not the way they're playing, which brings us to the real crossroads facing this organization. I mean, do you double down and try to add pieces, or do you take a step back and admit that this rebuild isn't finished yet. Or even more so, an uncomfortable truth here is that maybe the Yzerplan is over with. Since taking over as general manager in 2019, and like I said, some of the hate is real, some of the hate has merit to it, Steve Yzerman has focused on stockpiling prospects and building a new core around young players like Seider and Lucas Raymond. And to be fair, to be completely fair, there is talent on this roster. I'm not saying that there is not. There is. But it's not enough. It's not enough to win a championship. Structure wins championships. Depth wins championships. Elite goaltending wins championships. The Red Wings are missing multiple pieces of that puzzle. I mean, they just don't have it. So the big question becomes, what are they going to do? What happens next? Do you start looking at trades? Do you move some veterans and retool the roster again? Do you bring in a true number one goalie? Because standing still isn't working. I mean, some analysts are already pointing to this offseason as a critical moment for Detroit's rebuild. And I cannot believe I'm saying that. Like, I hate saying it. Because I know that fans do not have the stomach to keep doing this again. It's like the same horror movie over and over every season. And then everybody comes out and says, okay, it's going to end. We got this under control. And then it doesn't happen. We just keep going and going and going. I mean, it reminds me of some of the Detroit Lions' worst years. And I know that the Wings aren't that bad, but it's just been perpetual problems. If the team misses the playoffs again, pressure's probably going to start building on the front office. And I'm talking about serious pressure. And that brings us to the uncomfortable topic that fans have been talking about. And I've been kind of beating around the bush about it. Is it time for Steve Yzerman to go? Now, before anybody gets angry, let's be clear. He is a legend in Detroit. I have a jersey in my office that he signed. As a player, he is untouchable. As a general manager, he helped build the powerhouse in Tampa Bay. But this is Detroit. And the reality of professional sports is simple. Eventually, results matter. He's had time. The rebuild has taken time. Fans were patient. Fans were very patient. But if the Wings miss the playoffs again, after all these years of rebuilding, the question is going to get louder. And I'm not saying that that's what they should do. I'm not saying it's fire Eiserman. But maybe is it time to change the strategy? Because right now, the Red Wings feel stuck in the middle. They aren't bad enough to fully rebuild again and start over and tear it all to shreds, but they aren't good enough to contend for a Stanley Cup either. And that's the worst place a team can live in professional sports, is in the middle. No direction, no momentum, no identity. We're not terrible losers. We're not winners either. That's where Detroit feels like it is right now. I mean, the final games of this season are going to tell us a lot about this team's character. Do they rally? Do they fight their way into the playoffs like I thought they were going to? Or do they continue this collapse and watch the postseason from home again? Because if this spiral continues, the off-season conversation in Detroit is going to get very uncomfortable. Trades are going to be discussed, roster changes are going to be demanded, and the future of the rebuild will be questioned. And I'm talking about everybody. For a franchise as historic as the Detroit Red Wings, a team that used to be synonymous with winning, that's a hard reality to accept. But right now, that's exactly where things stand. Keep it locked. We're going to be covering it all. You're listening to Midnight Sports Detroit.